Can you name your 5 senses? They are easy to take for granted, but without them, our lives would not be the same. They are sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. And they are how we experience the world around us, right from the moment we are born. Our senses are a part of our nervous system, which is like the electrical wiring system for our bodies. This very complex network of nerves and cells carries messages back and forth between our brains and all the parts of our bodies. Our nervous system has 2 main parts: the central nervous system, which includes the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which includes all the nerves and the rest of our bodies. Our brains are like our body's control centers. They are always at work, even when we are asleep. The spinal cord is like a long tube of nerve cells and tissue that runs from the brain down our backs. Its main job is to carry the messages of the peripheral nervous system to and from our brains. Each of our senses takes in information through what is called a sensory organ, which contains special cells and tissues that respond to things outside our bodies. Our eyes are the sensory organ for our sense of sight. The different parts of our eyes work together to turn light into nerve signals that our brains translate into the images we see. It may sound simple, but it is a very complicated process. That is also true for our other sensory organs. Our ears use a combination of fluid and tiny bones to turn vibrations traveling like waves through the air into the nerve signals that our brains translate into sound. In much the same way, special nerves in your nose detect chemicals in the air when you sniff or breathe. When these nerve messages reach the brain, they are translated into what we call smells. Scientists say the human nose can detect at least 1 trillion different smells. Our tongues are one of our favorite sensory organs because they allow us to experience a whole world of tastes. The nerve receptors on our tongues are called taste buds and are in those little bumps on top of your tongue. Like the nerves in our noses, our taste buds react to chemicals in the things we eat and drink. The messages they send to the brain are translated into the different tastes we experience, from those we call delicious to those that make us say yuck. Our last sensory organ is the biggest because it covers our whole body. Our skin gives us our sense of touch. This time, the receptor nerves are located in the different layers of skin on our bodies. They respond to pressure and vibration, sending signals that the brain translates into different kinds of sensations, including pain, itch, and tickle. Touch receptors are different from one part of the body to another. That is why some spots are more ticklish than others, and why pressure that might hurt in one spot feels just fine in another. Like humans, animals have senses too. In some cases, theirs are much more sensitive than ours. And for some animals, it is their sensitive senses that help them avoid dangers and deal with the challenges of their habitats. Here are a few examples. The San Joaquin kit fox is a very small fox that lives in Central California. Even with its huge ears and bushy tail, it is still only about as big as the typical house cat. Scientists believe large ears help the fox find food and locate tiny insects and animals when it is hunting at night. The fox's eyes are heavily pigmented to protect them from the burning desert sun. And the fox is believed to have a very well-developed sense of smell, which also helps it find food. Without its sensitive hearing and sense of smell, the small fox would have trouble surviving the harsh conditions in the desert. The rosy boa is a relatively small, non-poisonous snake that lives in California's Mojave Desert and desert areas of Arizona. These snakes are less than 4 feet long and move very slowly. Like all snakes, the rosy boa does not have ears like ours, so it does not hear the way humans do. Instead, it detects vibrations in the ground through its jawbones, so it can tell when something is near. Even though the rosy boa breathes in air through its nostrils, it mostly smells with its tongue, like other snakes. When it puts its tongue in the air, it picks up tiny chemical particles. A special sensory organ in its mouth tells it what the particles are. In this way, the rosy boa can locate food and smell other creatures that may be a threat. When it comes to eyesight, some snakes' eyes work better than others. But a group of poisonous snakes, called pit vipers, have a special sensory organ located in a pit between their eyes and nostrils that enables them to tell where another creature is by sensing the heat from its body. Pit vipers are not the only animals that can see without using their eyes. Bats and a few other animals possess a very special sensory skill known as echolocation. Often, when they are searching for food in the dark, bats send out sound waves with their noses or mouths. When the sound waves bounce off something, they send an echo back to the bat, which tells the bat the location of that object. Some people think bats are blind, but their eyes work just fine. It is just that their echolocation skills work even better. It is interesting to compare our senses to those of animals to see how they are different. But it is probably safe to say that we would rather smell with our noses and not our tongues, hear with our ears and not our jawbones, and see by using our eyes and not echolocation.